Rain streaked the train window as Ellie clutched her father's faded photo, her heart racing. A stranger's voice broke the silence. That man. I knew him. A secret from her past was about to unravel, forever changing her journey. The rain tapped a steady rhythm against the windows of the Amtrak train, its wheels clacking over the tracks as it rolled out of Chicago toward Springfield, Illinois. Inside the dimly lit coach, Ellie Harper sat alone, her fingers tracing the edges of an old photograph. The faded image showed her parents on their wedding day, her father, Tom Harper, grinning wide, his arms slung around her mother's shoulders. Ellie's thumb lingered on his face, a face she barely remembered. He died in a car accident when she was 5, leaving behind only this photo and a handful of stories her mother told her. Now, at 32, Ellie was a freelance book editor in Chicago, piecing together other people's stories, while her own felt like a half-finished manuscript. She shifted in the worn seat, her stomach twisting. Flying terrified her, had since she was a kid, and saw a news report about a plane crash, the wreckage burned into her memory. So when the call came about her Aunt Ruth's sudden death, a heart attack out of nowhere, Ellie booked a train ticket to Springfield. The journey was long, the train's sway nauseating, but it was better than facing her fear of the sky. She glanced out the window where gray clouds blurred the Illinois flatlands. Another jolt of the train made her grip the photo tighter. Sleep was impossible. Tickets, please. A voice cut through the hum of the train. Ellie looked up to see a woman in a crisp Amtrak uniform, her silver hair tucked neatly under her cap. The conductor's badge read, Margaret Callahan. She was about 60, with a warm smile, and eyes that seemed to hold a story of their own. Ellie fumbled for her ticket, her fingers brushing the photo as she handed it over. Margaret punched the ticket with a quick snap. Nice picture, she said, her gaze lingering on the photograph still in Ellie's hand. That your folks? Ellie nodded, caught off guard. Yeah, my parents. A long time ago. Margaret tilted her head, studying the image. The man. He looks familiar, like someone I knew back in the day. She handed the ticket back and moved down the aisle, but her words hung in the air. Ellie frowned, tucking the photo into her jacket pocket. Familiar. How could a random conductor know her father? She shook her head, chalking it up to small talk. Still something about Margaret's voice, gentle not pushy, stuck with her. The train rattled on the rain, picking up streaking the windows. Ellie's phone buzzed with a text from her mom. You okay, honey? You're stronger than you think. Ellie managed a weak smile, typing back a thumbs-up emoji. Her mom was recovering from a bad flu, too sick to make the trip to Ruth's funeral. It was just Ellie now heading to a town she barely knew to mourn an aunt she hadn't seen in years. Ruth had been her mom's older sister, the one who stayed in Springfield, while her mom followed Tom to Chicago. Ellie's memories of Ruth were fuzzy, warm hugs, the smell of fresh-baked snickerdoodles, a laugh that filled a room. But they drifted apart, and now guilt gnawed at Ellie for not reaching out sooner. She leaned her head against the cool window, trying to push away the unease. The train's rhythm was almost soothing, but her mind kept circling back to Margaret's comment. Why did she think she knew her dad? Ellie pulled the photo out again, studying her father's face. He looked so young, so alive, with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Her mom always said he was a dreamer, always carving little wooden trinkets or planning some grand adventure. But that was all Ellie had, stories, not memories. A soft clink broke her thoughts. Margaret was back, carrying a tray with 2 steaming mugs. Tea, she said, setting one down on the fold-out table in front of Ellie. Chamomile. It'll calm your nerves. You look like you could use it. Ellie hesitated. Taking drinks from strangers wasn't her thing, but Margaret's smile was disarming, like a favorite aunt you hadn't seen in years. Thanks, she said, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. The faint scent of honey rose with the steam. I'm Ellie, by the way. Maggie Callahan. Margaret said, settling into the seat across from her. Been working this route for 20 years? You headed to Springfield for family. Ellie nodded, sipping the tea. It warmed her chest, loosening the knot of anxiety. My aunt passed away. I'm going to her funeral. Maggie's eyes softened. I'm so sorry, hun. That's tough. Was she close to you? Not really, Ellie admitted, staring into her mug. I mean, I loved her, but we didn't talk much. She lived in Springfield her whole life, and I'm in Chicago. Life just got in the way. Maggie nodded like she understood more than Ellie was saying. Guilt's a heavy thing to carry on a trip like this. Maybe this is your chance to learn more about her, about your family. Ellie looked up, surprised by the insight. How did this woman get her so easily? Yeah, maybe, she said, her voice soft. I don't know where to start. Maggie leaned back, her uniform crinkling. Start with what you've got. That photo, for instance. She nodded toward Ellie's hand where the picture still rested. Tell me about it. Ellie hesitated, then set the mug down and held up the photo. It's my parents' wedding day. My dad, Tom, and my mom, Laura. He died when I was little. Car accident. I don't remember much, just what my mom told me. He was full of life, I guess. Loved making things, telling stories. Maggie's eyes locked on the photo, and for a moment her face changed, like she was seeing a ghost. Tom, she murmured. Tom Harper. Ellie froze, her heart skipping a beat. Yeah. How did you? I knew him. Maggie said, her voice barely above a whisper. Back in Springfield when we were kids. He was my best friend. Ellie's mind reeled. This couldn't be real. You knew my dad. She clutched the photo tighter, her thumb pressing into its worn edges. Maggie nodded, a bittersweet smile crossing her face. Tommy Harper was the brightest soul I ever met. Always dreaming big, always making something out of nothing. Did your mom ever tell you about the time he turned an old barn into a stage for a summer concert? Had the whole town dancing under the stars. Ellie shook her head, her throat tight. No, she didn't talk much about Springfield. It hurt her, I think, after he died. Maggie's gaze softened. I get that. Losing Tommy broke a lot of hearts, mine included. She paused, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, tarnished silver locket. He gave me this before he left town. Said to keep it safe, to only open it if I met someone who reminded me of him. Someone with his light. Ellie's breath caught as Maggie placed the locket in her hand. It was cool to the touch, engraved with the words, "Spread your wings," in delicate script. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a tiny wooden swallow, its wings carved with intricate detail. A memory flashed her mom's voice, telling her about a wooden swallow her dad made a promise of freedom and return. My mom. She has one like this, Ellie whispered. He made it for her. Maggie's eyes glistened. That sounds like Tommy, always leaving pieces of himself behind. She leaned closer. I never opened that locket. Felt like it wasn't mine to open. But seeing you, Ellie, it's like seeing him again. That same spark in your eyes. Ellie's heart pounded. This was too much too fast. You're saying, my dad wanted me to have this. She held the locket up, its weight heavy with meaning. I think so, Maggie said. He always believed in second chances and passing things on. Maybe this is yours. The train lurched, signaling a stop. Maggie stood, brushing her uniform. I've got to make my rounds, but I'll be back. Keep that locket close, Ellie. It's more than just a trinket. Ellie sat there staring at the locket, her mind racing. The train's hum faded into the background as she traced the carved swallow. Her father wasn't just a face in a photo anymore. He was real, someone who laughed, dreamed, and left behind pieces of himself for her to find. But why hadn't her mom ever mentioned Maggie? What else didn't she know? The rain had stopped by the time the train pulled into Springfield. Ellie stepped onto the platform, the locket tucked safely in her pocket. The air smelled of wet leaves and distant wood smoke, a small-town scent that stirred vague memories of childhood visits. She hailed a cab to her aunt's house, where the funeral would be held. The town felt frozen in time. Red brick buildings, a diner with a neon sign, a park with a gazebo where kids played despite the drizzle. Ellie wondered if her dad had walked these streets, maybe with Maggie dreaming of a bigger world. The funeral was small, held in Ruth's cozy living room, the air thick with the scent of snickerdoodles someone had baked in her honor. Ellie stood among distant cousins and family friends, feeling like an outsider. A gray-haired woman introduced herself as Ruth's neighbor, Clara. "Your aunt talked about you all the time," Clara said, handing Ellie a plate of cookies. "Said you were a bookworm, just like her." Ellie managed a smile. "I wish I'd known her better." Clara patted her arm. She understood Han. Families drift, but they always find their way back. After the service, Ellie wandered through Ruth's house, her fingers trailing over bookshelves and faded photos. In a drawer, she found a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Ruth's neat handwriting. Ellie sat on the couch, reading entries about her mom and dad, about Ruth's pride and her little sister's courage to leave Springfield with Tom. One entry caught her eye. Tom was always carving those swallows. Said they were for dreamers, for people who needed to fly. "I miss him." Laura does too, even if she won't say it. Ellie's eyes stung. She pulled out her phone and called her mom. The line crackled, her mom's voice weak but warm. "Ellie, you okay, sweetheart?" "I'm okay, Mom. I met someone on the train. Maggie Callahan. She knew Dad. She gave me a locket he left her." Ellie's voice broke. "Why didn't you tell me about her?" There was a long pause. "Oh, honey," her mom said. "Maggie was Tommy's best friend. They were thick as thieves. After he died, I couldn't talk about Springfield. It hurt too much. I'm sorry." Ellie clutched the locket. "It's okay. I feel him here, Mom. Like he's still here. Herm." Her mom's voice softened. "He's always with you, Ellie. In your heart. And in that locket." Ellie swallowed hard. "I found something. A swallow. Like the one you told me about. A swallow." Her mom's voice trembled. "Oh, Ellie, he made those for us. For dreamers," he said. "You've got his light in you." Ellie hung up, tears spilling over. "I think I'm starting to see that." The call ended, and Ellie sat there holding the journal and the locket. The room was quiet, the only sound the ticking of a clock on the mantel. She read another entry in Ruth's journal. "Tommy's gone, but his spirit's in every corner of this town. I see him in the park, in the bakery, in the way the kids laugh. I hope Ellie finds that spirit someday." She did. The locket was proof, a piece of him she could carry. But it wasn't enough. She needed to know more, not just about her dad, but about herself. Who was she, if not Tom Harper's daughter? The next morning, Ellie stood at the Springfield train station, the locket heavy in her pocket. The rain had cleared, leaving a crisp autumn sky. She'd said goodbye to Maggie at the platform, promising to keep in touch. Maggie had hugged her, whispering, "You're his light, Ellie. Don't forget it." Now she faced a choice. The train back to Chicago was boarding its familiar hum, a safe option. But the airport was only a short cab ride away. Her heart raced at the thought of flying, the old fear clawing at her. She pulled out the locket, tracing the words, "Spread your wings." Her dad's words, Maggie had said. A promise of freedom. Ellie hailed a cab, her hands trembling. "Airport," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. The driver nodded, pulling away from the station. As the town faded behind her, Ellie looked out the window, the locket warm in her hand. The taxi wound through Springfield, past the park, where her dad had once played music, past the bakery Ruth had run. It felt like a goodbye, but not a final one. At the airport, she bought a ticket, her palms sweaty as she boarded the small plane. The engines roared and she gripped the locket, picturing her dad's grin, his wooden swallow soaring free. The plane lifted off, and her stomach lurched, but she kept her eyes on the horizon. This was for him, for her. As the plane climbed, Ellie felt a strange calm settle over her. She wasn't just Tom Harper's daughter. She was Ellie Harper, dreamer-doer, someone ready to spread her wings. Back in Chicago, she texted her mom from the tarmac landed. "So much to tell you." She tucked the locket into her pocket, a smile breaking through. The journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. If you've got a story like Ellie's one that connects you to your past, we'd love to hear it. Drop a comment or send us an email. This is the Train to Tomorrow signing off.